If you have a desire to become a better version of your current self, then this podcast is for you. I share with you helpful thoughts, tips, and stories surrounding fitness and self-improvement which you can apply to your life today. So for those of you that want to take control of your life, to learn, to grow, to become that which you desire most, I am your host, Connor Malone, and this is the pursuit of constant improvement. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the exact steps that you can take to start building the ultimate routine for self-improvement. So essentially, we're going over 5 steps today. Now, these steps are going to be steps that allows you to create a routine that differs you from the rest, that pushes you forward. Because what we find all too often in life is we fall into routine. Routine is given to us, whether it's by our workplace, by our family, whatever is given it to us, we're given and put into a routine. So what I'm going to go over with you today is how we can create a routine ourselves, and one that helps us strive towards becoming that better person. If you have that picture of your ideal self, that person you want to be, this routine is what's going to get you there. Because it's all too often that I have this question come to me of like, Connor, how do I start my own routine, particularly for self-improvement? And these 5 steps are going to help you do exactly that from today. So looking forward to this one, because with routine, when we look at routine, that is really what separates, if you like, a winner from a loser. Somebody who gets a certain outcome in life and people who don't. It's their routine. Because we all have the same or similar goals. We want the same outcomes. People want to be wealthy. People want to be fit. People want to be liked. People want to be able to be confident, to speak well. But what actually is the difference between the people that become that and the people that don't is their routine. Because all a routine is a sequence of actions. So what we want to make sure of is the actions, the sequence of actions that you are putting in every single day are ones that are pushing you forward and closer to your ideal self. So that's how we're going to go through this in today's episode. Now, the very first step is going to be realising what you want from your day, because you'll realise in the title here I was specific. I said a daily routine. I didn't just say routine in general, because we have weekly routines, monthly routines even. But what I want to go over is a daily routine, because we know there's a lot of days in a year, but if we start to win the days, we win the weeks. If we win the weeks, we win the months. And if we win enough months, we win the year. And again, it's what's made up in those days. What are the actions that you do in those days that inevitably dictate where you end up in life? Because it's those actions that result in that. Now, the first things first in terms of realising what you want for the day is nobody's is the exact same. So that's why it's so important to have such an individual routine and realise what you truly want from it. It's like people say, well, you should get up and journal, or you should go in a cold shower, or you should work out first thing in the morning, or you should have a breakfast smoothie, or you should fast. There's so many different things you can do. But what we need to find out is, what do you want? What is your goal? So again, realise what you want from your day. What, for you, is when you sit down at the end of the day and you look back, what is a good day? What's a successful day to you? Your actions should help that happen. So that's how we're going to kind of look at this. That's the very first thing you want to do. So there's no point throwing random things into a routine and hoping that it pushes you forward because it worked for somebody else. You're different. You have different goals than other people. So why would your routine be the same as theirs? It has to be different. So with realising kind of what you want from your day, you first have to have goals. Because the reason we need a goal is like, right, well, who do you want to become? What do you want to achieve? Then we can realise, right, this is what my day needs to look like in order to achieve that. So that's how I worked it. I had these kind of ideas of like, right, I want to be this person. I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. Right, now how do I do that? Well, it's through my actions. Okay, my daily actions, right, I need a daily routine as such. So I had to look at my day and think, right, well, I need to get this done in my day, or X, Y, and Z. So that's where it starts. It starts with goals. Now, if you don't have goals, or you struggle to set goals that you can actually achieve, episode number 8 of the podcast, I explain exactly that. How you can set goals, how you can achieve goals, make achievable goals. So if that's something you've faced in the past, a problem with your own goals and setting them, then go back and watch that episode, and you'll be able to kind of come back to this one. But if you have goals, you know what you want to achieve, you can then start to realise what you need from your day. Because without goals, desires, purpose, things are sporadic. Like if you look at your routine now and most other people's routines, It's sporadic. Different things, different days. Sometimes some things happen, sometimes things don't. What we want is some form of consistency with routine. Because if you have a set idea and purpose, something you want to work towards, things have to be consistent in order to get there. And that comes off the back of a goal. Then you can start to make your decisions of what you're going to do in that day. So once you know what you want, that's when you can start to get there. Okay, so we pick out that goal, what we want to do, and then we can start to put in those steps. Because what I actually heard this from a friend, and he said that by looking at somebody's routine, you should be able to tell what their goals are. So we're going full circle here. So I've just said that we need to have goals in order to realize what we want from a day. So then by looking at your schedule, your diary, your calendar, somebody should be able to say, right, well, that person wants to lose weight. That person wants to become welfare. They want a better job or whatever, because the actions in your day reflect that. So again, that's how we start. We realize what we want from a day, and we do that by figuring out what our goals are. Once you have a goal, realize what makes this a successful day. For me, I would have ones for like my work. For example, maybe it's having really good sessions with my clients, because not only does that help them get better results and push my business forward, it helps them obviously with positive word of mouth. They talk about my service, and I also feel good about it. So to me, that would make a good day for me, so I can plan accordingly for that. Another thing with that would be, for example, if you want to lose weight, well, a lot of your day has to be filled with controlling your calorie intake, potentially exercising. And that's how we can start from there. So again, realize what you want from your day. That comes from your goals. That's the start of your daily routine. The next thing is a very important one. And this is what people usually leave out. They think, right, I need to do this every day. Perfect. They start to get their daily routine planned. But then problems occur. Blockers occur. So what you need to do is find out what may take you off routine. So maybe you look at your work schedule. Maybe you don't work 5 days a week. Maybe you do 2 days on or 4 days on, 1 day off, whatever. You need to build that into your daily routine. You need to realize what's going to come in the way of your daily routine. Maybe not all days are the same. Well, that's cool. You might need to have a different routine some days than others. That's absolutely fine. But we need to plan ahead for this. This is contingency planning. You're planning ahead and thinking, right, what comes in the way here? What are the distractions? What are the blockers? And then you remove them. Because it happens all the time that people start a daily routine, something happens and it stops them. And then they fail. But not only do they fail, they quit. And they don't try again. And they end up like the people we spoke about at the start. The people inevitably fail, and they're not the people that succeed, because their daily routine does not replicate where they want to go in life. So again, removing blockers is the first stage of that, because those are things that may take you off routine from there. There's a quote that my friend John shared with me by Confucius. And what he said was, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." And how we can utilize this is, right, everything starts small. Like if you want to scale a mountain, you want to do that, you need to start by removing the small stones, the small things that get in your way, the blockers. That's the stones are in your daily routine. You need to remove them. So what's going to stop you from having a good day? Remove that. Work to remove that. And then you can get consistent with it. Because as I mentioned multiple times, a daily routine needs to be consistent from here. One thing I like to do, because the biggest blocker for me was like a lack of preparation. So that inevitably is a blocker. That's something that stops you with your daily routine. How can we remove that lack of preparation? So what we can do, what I found was, like, for example, some mornings when I was planning to get up early to go to the gym, I just wasn't doing it because I hadn't prepped the night before. So very simply laying out clothes the night before, making sure I get to my bed. A good day starts the night before. So that was me removing that distraction of ill preparation. So by planning the night before. So I looked at my daily routine and I thought, right, what is something that stops me from getting up early and going to the gym, which was part of my daily routine at one point. And then it was like, right, what was my my lack of preparation? And that's how I removed it. By planning ahead the night before. I made that part of my routine, because that was basically the end of one daily routine and it was the start of another. So there's one that you probably have kind of noticed before from that. I think of that as setting up processes. So like almost like a list. So you could have a list for your day. I have a list for my weeks. So I essentially plan out all my days on a Sunday. And that's my daily routines essentially sorted from there. But there is a list. I go through a set kind of process of, right, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done in order for me to have a good day. That's how you make 100% sure of a good day. It's by having lists, procedures. It sounds a bit over the top, but by making things clear, by creating a list, you can then have a good day ahead of it. So it's definitely something to add in from there. One of the processes that may help is essentially finding out, what do you need for a good week to happen? Because some people say, right, well, I need to be training every day. I want to train every single day. Right, well, you don't even have a gym membership yet. Let's get that sorted. Let's get that ticked off the list. You might not, I don't know, have like suitable running shoes or something. Let's get that ticked off the list. So again, you're preparing, you're getting everything ready, you're setting up these processes, and then you're more likely to actually follow through on your daily routine, and they're not blockers instead of that one. So basically, the whole point in all of this and removing thing is we're not being naive. We're not just saying, right, this is my daily routine, it's going to work every single day. We understand things are going to come in the way, but our goal is to remove that. So again, think of that. Start by moving those small stones out of the way from there. One of the next things, something that I've really worked on in the past kind of 6 months, and it's creating a standard for yourself, a standard to uphold, or a target. So for you, again, we spoke about this earlier, it's like, what does a good day look like for you? Set that standard. It could be in the form of non-negotiables. So you could have daily non-negotiables. It could be, I need to do some form of exercise. I need to do some form of reflection. Whatever it happens to be, set your standard. What do you have to get done every day for this to work? Is this a Monday to Friday routine? Because that's fine. One of the things that I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, because a lot of people get confused with this. People think of a daily routine and think it needs to be every single day. It can be different. A daily routine doesn't mean all 7 days need to be the exact same. You can have a daily routine which is different from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday than it is on Thursday and Friday. You just need to be clear of that. You need to set that expectation of yourself. You need to set that standard with yourself, right? Maybe 5 days I follow a specific routine, and the weekends I maybe relax a little bit. Because what, again, people do is they lie to themselves. They say, I'm going to do it 7 days a week. What makes you think you're going to do that at the weekend? When you've either been out or you've got something else planned, what makes you think you're going to uphold that standard? Be honest with yourself. Don't be naive. So again, set the standard from there. Another thing I really like, and this really helps me with my routine, it helps me follow my routine, is realizing why you're doing this daily routine. What is this for? What is this daily routine doing for you? Well, it's pushing me closer to who I want to be. So if you think of your ideal self, this person that you want to become, this daily routine pushes you forward to becoming that. So that's going to build up that confidence and belief in this routine and why you need to do it, because you're realizing, right, why is routine important from there? Without standards, as we spoke about earlier, what I tend to find is people quit. So that's probably the most important point in the standards is, without standards, we quit because we had nothing to base ourselves off of. Hold yourself to a standard that you can regularly continue, but you can be consistent with. Again, returning to that point of consistency. We need to be at a standard throughout our weeks. That's what I'm always like. At the end of my week, I look back and I'm like, did I uphold this certain standard? That's one of my questions in my weekly review. It's like, did I uphold the standard that I set out? And if it's a no, that's fine. I explain why. But with a good daily routine, you need to have standards in there. One of the easier ways with routine to make it structured, like we spoke about before, is through non-negotiables. Now, we've already mentioned these very briefly. I set weekly non-negotiables. It's worked better for me because with trial and error, you'll find what works well for you, what doesn't work well for you. But one thing you can try is pick 1 to 3 daily non-negotiables, but make them really, really easy. The point in a non-negotiable is not to be difficult. These are things that you can do every single day. So for example, I remember the first time I ever came across non-negotiables, it was a guy I followed on Instagram, and one of his was drink a litre of water within the first half an hour of waking. And of course it's good for your health and all that, but it's relatively easy to do. It's like whenever you wake up, you're going to have access to water, so it's a pretty easy one to do, but it helped him feel better every single day. So that was one of his non-negotiables, and it meant a lot to him, so he done that because he knew the impact of it. So there's like kind of one example of what it is. But think, what is most important to you? Maybe your goal is, as we spoke about earlier, to lose weight. Then what is most important to you would probably controlling your calorie intake. So one of your daily non-negotiables could be to track calories. So that could be, again, we could have set out Monday, that's Monday to Friday, it could be Monday to Sunday, it could be 7 days a week. Make sure that that's one of your daily non-negotiables. So that could be, again, you might only have one non-negotiable, and that might be to track your calorie intake or stay below your calorie target. But make sure whatever your non-negotiables are, they are important to you. Otherwise, you won't uphold them. You won't stick to that standard that we spoke about beforehand. One of the things that really, to me, helped me realize the importance of non-negotiables was this quote by James Clear, because what he says is, if you can get better 1%, if you can get better 1% each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. And you think, if that's like, wait, 1% a day doesn't sound like much. And I was thinking, like, well, how can you become 1% better? Non-negotiables. If you set 3 daily non-negotiables that make you 1% better, and that's going to make you 37 times better by the end of the year, that's quite a profound impact. So that could really be the thing that makes you realise, right, I need daily non-negotiables in my life to become 37 times better by the end of the year. That's quite the impact. As I said, when people fail with these, it's because they make them too difficult. So what I tend to find, there's some good examples, are not setting so people say write 10 pages a day because it sounds easy. That can actually be pretty difficult. So what you could say is 2 pages. Just doing that action of lifting up a book and reading it is a success. You've actually done it. Because what will happen is, if you set, 10 pages at a minimum, you might do it for 2 weeks, then you stop, you fail it for 2 days in a row, then you go back to it, then you fail it because it's just too much. And that's when you start to quit. So by setting something so small, like 2 pages, what you'll find is a lot of times you will read more than those 2 pages. You might read 4, you might read 6, you might read 10. But it's going to keep you sticking to it. It's going to keep you consistent, because all of the rules that we set out today, those 5 steps, they keep you consistent. Because that's what we need with routine. We need that consistency. If we want to get, as James Clear said, 37 times better and make these 1% improvements, we need to be consistent. The next step is around creating structure for your routine. So we spoke about this a little bit earlier on step number 3. And I do this through creating steps. Okay, so by creating structure to your routine, you can do this through steps. So you think of a routine, right? You think of a routine as a sequence of actions, and it's to get you to achieve a set outcome. Whatever those actions are steps. So once you complete one, you go up a higher step, and you keep going up and you keep going up. So to complete them. So for example, one thing I do is I complete a task sheet of things that I would like to do, things that I would like to get done. What I then do is I've got things like my diary, I've got my notes, my Google Calendar, and what I want to do is get those tasks onto that Google Calendar. Okay, so I have steps in order to do that. So I have 3 steps to complete my diary, and I'll share those with you. So those 3 steps are my non-negotiables first. So what I do is I put my non-negotiables into my diary. So it's like, right, this is what I'm going to do today, but whatever. These are super, super important. These always get put in first. The next one, I look to my diary, and that's where I tend to have urgent things. So it might be appointments, might be an appointment at the dentist, might be a meeting or something like that doesn't happen too often, but I put them in my diary ahead of time. That gets put in second because that's urgent. So that's kind of step number 2 from there. The next thing after that, because those are the most important, I then bring in tasks from my task sheet. That then gets put onto it. Okay, so as you can see there, I have steps. So what I have there is structure. And then that helps me, again, uphold that standard and continue with my daily routine from there. One thing I found when I was setting up kind of daily routines as well is when I was searching this up online, and particularly with self-improvement YouTube channels, you'll find people talking about the need for a morning routine, a night routine and everything like that. The important thing I mentioned earlier is routine's going to change from day to day. As long as you understand that, you do not need a daily, a morning routine. You do not need a night routine. You just need some form of routine. A daily routine for you could be getting 2 things done, and it could be 2 non-negotiables. That is routine. It's a sequence of actions. So don't set this super high standard of having 10 things to do every single day. Be honest with yourself. Again, as we said earlier, don't be naive. Set those set things and get them done consistently. Now, to finish off, I'm going to summarise those steps. So first of all, we had realising what you want from your day, the most important thing first, because if we don't know what we want from the day, then our actions we put into it might be useless and we'll inevitably fail and then we'll quit. The next thing is find out what may stop you from doing that and remove that. So what are the blockers? What are those small rocks? How can you get them out the road? That is step number 2. Step number 3 is create a standard for yourself to uphold. So tell yourself, right, well, I'm going to follow this routine 3 days a week. It's going to be 5 days a week. It's going to change from the weekend, whatever it is. Set a standard and follow that standard. After that, we pick 1 to 3 daily non-negotiables. So we pick 3, maybe 1, 2 or 3 tasks that are really going to push you forward. Even if it's a small thing, it really, over the scale of a whole year, will push you forward by doing it every single day or the days that you set out to do it. And then the last one is create a structure for your routine so it's consistent. So that's through those steps we spoke about. So when you're planning out your daily routine, you have, right, I need to do these 3 things, and then that's my daily routine set out from there. That's it, planned ahead of time. And then you can be consistent. With daily routines, if this is one of your first times you're really trying to structure this, do not be disheartened by the fact that things won't work. I've had it happen numerous times. I've tried so many different routines, daily routines, weekly routines, night routines, morning routines, whatever. I've tried loads and they have failed, but I have not quit. I've just seen, right, this didn't work because I didn't value it enough, or this didn't work because of this, or this maybe didn't work. I removed the blocker and I tried again and it worked. Things will fail. Things will not work. That is fine. That is all part of finding the routine that is best for you. The next thing is with shiny object syndrome. Because with routine, what we get is people wanting to overcomplicate things. They find this new app that does all these routines. Oh, my gratitude journal's in this app and this is on this app. And they overcomplicate it. Shiny object syndrome is essentially, there's a definition here, a continual state of distraction brought on by an ongoing belief that there is something new worth pursuing. So let's say you have a decent wee routine going. You might see an app that your friends use and they're like, oh, it's worked for a week, it's really good, whatever. And you're like, oh, it looks great. Everything's in cool, like it gives me notifications, it comes up as a widget on my phone, whatever. Shiny object syndrome. Most of the time you will not stick to it. Keep things simple. That's what I found's always worked. I literally have notes on my phone with those steps that I outlined. That's what I have. And I've been consistent at it for over 2 years now with this specific routine. So again, simplicity wins when it comes to routine. I've mentioned a lot today about failure and quitting. So like certain things will fail, you'll try again. There is a big difference between failure and quitting, especially when it comes to routine. If you fail, that's fine, you can go again. It's part of the process. If you quit, you've admitted defeat. That is you done, and you don't try again. You do not progress, and you become that person that is not successful, that is that loser. Because again, you quit. There's nothing good about quitting. You can fail as many times as you like and still win. But if you quit, you never win. So always remember that. One thing I found as well was what I tended to do was I picked what was like at the time that shiny object syndrome, things that kept coming up and whatever things I found that were trending and things like that. Do what's effective. A point in a daily routine is not for it to be really big and have loads of things in it. It's to get done the things that you need to get done. Do what is effective. That's what you need to do. That's what our daily routine should facilitate for you. It should facilitate you being able to do things that push you forward, not the cool things that boost your ego. Now, to finish today's episode, as we always do, I have a quote for you. It is a quote about routine, so very well fitting to this episode. And it goes like this. Without routine, we open the door to inaction and inconsistency by inviting them into our lives. We close that door by creating routine. Very simply what that quote is saying there is we open the door, we invite into our life inaction, inconsistency. So you don't take action on anything, you're not consistent with anything without routine. You need routine to push forward. If you want to keep out inaction, you want to keep out inconsistency, you want to shut that door, you need routine. As I said that in the beginning, that's what separates people who actually achieve what they set out to achieve and people that just merely dream of it. They just want it to happen. So your routine will get you there. So always remember that. Now, I hope you gained some value from this podcast. As ever, thank you for spending some valuable time with me listening today. If you watched on YouTube, be sure to leave a like. If you listened on Spotify, give it a rating. I would greatly appreciate that. Again, whatever you took from today's podcast, I hope you apply it to your life and continue to pursue constant improvement. Thank you for listening.